John, thank you so much for joining me at LSI this year.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about Ronovo Surgical?
Ronovo Surgical was founded about 3 years ago, and fast forward to today, we have 140 employees, almost all based in China, focusing in functions like R&D and clinical. And we have a platform called the Carina, which is a soft tissue surgical robot, and we are advancing very quickly into human clinical trials.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about the Carina system? It's my understanding it's a modular robot. What does that entail, and how does that maybe compare to what other soft tissue robotic systems are doing today?
Yeah, that's a good question, because that really goes back to where we founded about 3 years ago. Because as you know, China is a huge market. We do about 10 million procedures a year, and with 10,000 hospitals, over 100,000 surgeons. But over the past 16 years, really, that the surgical robotics up to today is only a very tiny fraction of the 10 million procedures, about 0.9%. And what's more important is that in two most important specialties, general surgery and gynecology, the percentage is even lower. Penetration is very low. When you looking deeper into that situation, what you really find is the current commercially available system is not really perfect for specialties like general surgery and gynecology. So what the company was founded is try to broaden the adoption and the penetration in these two specialties. And modular system, as we are the first to introduce in China, we believe that this can allow us to penetrate into these two specialties.
It's fascinating. So I believe you're referring then to the Da Vinci robot. Is Da Vinci already in China? Is it being used?
Yes, Da Vinci has been in China for 16 years. The first surgery was performed in 2007 in cardiology. Over the years, it has grown tremendously. I was very fortunate to be part of that. And as I mentioned before, that when you look at the clinical feedbacks from the field, what you heard the most is a surgeon often tells you that when they require multi-quadrant access, the robotic arms clash very often. And you will find out also very importantly, 90% of the surgeon only use 3 arms out of 4. So that makes you wonder how you provide better access of a surgical space for the surgeons when they particularly will be needing multi-quadrant. And so that's all prompted our initial innovative thinking of being modular. We have more to the being modular system as well, as you know, that when we developed over the last 3 years.
So you're initially focused on the soft tissue applications, general surgery. Maybe if we look a little further into the future, where can Carina also be used? Is there any limitations to it?
I think most of the surgical robotics, whether it's a soft tissue and hard tissue, that they all have something in common. They also have different clinical applications. What we initially focus is a very large market. It's about 10 million procedures in soft tissue. Having said that, I think that there are many clinical applications will find its usage of some of the core of our technology. And right now we are only focusing on soft tissue, which to me it's 10 million procedures a year.
Right. So you guys have grown very rapidly, I would say, for a startup in such a relatively short period of time. Where are you guys at in terms of bringing Carina to market?
Sure, we really accelerated our process in validating our original design intent. So last year we performed 22 animal and cadaver trials. This year alone, that we are, in the first quarter, we are up to 26. So really, this is picking up a lot of pace, moving towards a human clinical trial. So next quarter, we will kick off a human clinical trial in 2 specialties, which is urology and gynecology.
Coming back to the modular design, I'm just intrigued to know a little bit more about it. Does that entail multiple arms? Is that what's making it modular? What's the modular component really all about?
Yeah, I think first of all, we have to look at the commercially available system out there in the market. It's a single pedestal design and with multiple arms attached to that. You always have a surgeon console in controlling the movement of the robotic arms, sort of remotely. And a modular design, which means that you will have each cart with a surgical arm, and they spread around in the operating table, so which you can envision. It gives a surgeon better access from both sides of the operating table. So again, it's a one arm for each surgical cart.
Okay, so do those different carts then have different functionalities, or do they all kind of have the same capabilities?
Yeah, that's a very good question, actually. We are getting to the core of the technology. Our purpose is going to standardize the cart, which means that each cart can attach to the vision system or the robotic instrument. So it's a standardization, and which also help us to make a better use. I mean, imagine the hospital will have a standardized cart, and they can keep a inventory that which helps them to make a better use if one is in need of a repair or maintenance. And also it helps us to reduce the overall cost of the capital cost of the system.
Another thing I found fascinating about the Carina system is that you guys have your own advanced visualization technology, correct? Could you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think the vision system is always a critical part of the surgical robotics, and it helps the surgeon to see better in an enlarged view. And to that end, we have two different configurations for the vision system. One is that we can adapt to the existing vision systems, like the vision system used for laparoscopic surgery. And we have our own in-house three-dimension high definition with ICG capability vision system that we use in the Carina system as well. So really that configurability will allow us to work with a variety of a choice at the surgeon's preference for different procedures.
Is that visualization also adding in other capabilities such as artificial intelligence or maybe augmented reality to reduce the cognitive load of what the surgeon has, maybe augment their capabilities and expand them beyond what they're traditionally used to?
Yeah, this is a great direction because initially we are focusing on what we call the functional imaging. And what that means is we are seeing more than anatomical information, that we are bringing therapeutical information intraoperatively, so that it helps the surgeon to make clinical decisions during surgery. ICG is a good example of that. And to that end, we will continue our efforts into the area that you have just mentioned, whether this is augmented reality or VR. There are a number of options available to us, but right now we are focusing on functional imaging.
It's fascinating. I imagine that having this in-house imaging capabilities that you're developing in addition to your own robotics platform makes it a much easier product to accept when you're bringing it in and pitching it to your prospective customers.
Absolutely.
I know that Johnson & Johnson recently shuttered their efforts in the soft tissue space with their Verb program. I imagine that is in large part due to the competition from Intuitive and from Medtronic. Yeah. How are you guys feeling about going toe-to-toe with these two?
Oh, I'm not worried about Intuitive Surgical or other companies out there. I think different perspective, if I may. First of all, I worked at the Intuitive Surgical. This is a great company. There are a lot of great people, great technology. I have really enjoyed my time there. This is a great learning for me, make no mistake. But in addition to that, I think this is an industry that has been in monopoly for over 20 years. And I just find it tremendous fun to work the possibility of innovation. And there's more fun to work with the engineers and the clinicians on the innovation. And I think there's a lot more fun. There's a potential that we can perhaps disrupt that a monopoly. Sure. and finding value in the hands of surgeon and the patients.
That's exciting. I'm looking forward to you guys entering the market when you guys are ready. What brings you to LSI this year?
I think, first of all, just this is my first event, and I heard that there are a few hundreds of attendees, and and many respectful companies and investment funds. I think my first objective is just learning and to make friends, to get to know people. And also, I think obviously we start our fundraising for this time and like to see if there's an opportunity that there's interest in Ronovo Surgical, that I can find the opportunity to introduce the company, the technology on our team.
You know, based off of the limited research I've done, I'd say there's a lot of interest and excitement around Ronovo Surgical. So I think that this meeting is going to be a fantastic experience for you.
I hope so as well.
John, thank you so much for joining me in the studio.
Thank you.